The first line of the pitch was Charlize Theron as Megyn Kelly. Here we go. And that stayed consistent all the way through. And so Charlize has been such a great partner in not only doing her day job, which is the performance, but doing her night job, which is the producing, and really stepped up to get everything made, and that's been terrific. The depth of talent on this movie, you just show up at work and like, oh, really? That person's come up for 4 lines? That's fantastic. It's just the story of these complicated human beings who step up and do something really remarkable.
I'm really excited, but also incredibly nervous. This is the first night where we're showing it to people and we can't go back and change things and fix things. And I think that's kind of like hitting me really hard that we're really locked in. This is the movie, this is our baby that we're sending out into the world. Charles Randolph wrote an incredible script, and when it was sent to us to produce and for me to play Megyn, it was really, for us as a company, it was a no-brainer to want to make the film because the story was just incredibly powerful. The script was written so well, and I knew ultimately we wanted to produce it, but for me to star in it, I had to find that director that could push me over the edge, like over the cliff a little bit. And that person happened to be Jay Roach, who is a friend of mine, and had read the script just as a favor to me and really responded to the material. And it was really him who ultimately said to me, Charlize, you have to play this part. And I said, okay, well, will you do it with me? And then from that moment on, every actress that was at the top of our list, we reached out to. We dreamed really big, and everybody responded, and we're incredibly lucky to have made this movie with the people that we ended up making it with. I think what's been nice when we show it to people is the level of surprise that they thought they knew what the film was, and then watching it, realizing that the way we went about it was to make it not feel like you were taking medicine. The story is fascinating, and we stayed on that path to the greater truth, but ultimately we wanted to do something that felt entertaining to watch, something that you really enjoyed watching, and all of that was through character study. And I think that's what sets this movie apart.
It's always nerve-wracking to make something that you know is going to be controversial, you know is going to have all the scrutiny on it. You don't know for sure if you've pulled it off. You know you make a deal with the audience that it's based on a real story. Is it authentic enough? Is it connect? I'm optimistic, that it's gonna connect. So we'll see. The name director implies some kind of soul vision. I'm pretty collaborative anyway because I came out of comedy. We're always workshopping and collaborating. But this one in particular, because of all of this talent that came on board, especially the women actor leads, it was, every day was, does this make sense to you? Does this work? Charles' script was so good, but we were constantly checking it against everybody's reactions on the set. And it just wouldn't have worked without that, because we changed things perpetually based on reactions. We also were constantly trying to check in with some of the real people who were involved, who we don't name, but a lot of people came forward and let us know how they felt. So, that was a huge part of the experience of just trying to get it right. That's our whole thing, just try to get it right. But it was only possible by countering each other, checking with each other all the time, the whole time. So I knew how to put the camera where I got the shots. I knew how to make sure it kind of organized itself into a movie. But the kind of essence of it came from the group, and that was cool. This was a year before Harvey Weinstein stuff, so these were women stepping up against one of the most powerful media titans ever to challenge this kind of culty thing, and they succeeded, and that hadn't happened before. And these were not the most likely people to be the women that would do that. So that's what drove me to the story.
The writing was what got me right off the bat immediately. Like, Charles is so talented, and like the intelligence with which he attacked the story and the subject matter was very appealing, and I think that drew everyone to it. And then, of course, to be part of such an amazing team like this, it was wonderful. Bombshell is about power dynamics in the workplace and what it is to be alienated from people who suffer the same issues as you, and how to communicate to solve that problem.
Gretchen Carlson was definitely somebody who put herself out there and put herself in a very vulnerable position, and it is so known now that we know more about these kind of like harassment situations in toxic workplaces where it's a really scary place for women to feel brave enough to own their truth and to speak about it. And I think that there has to be empathy for how all women handle all of this stuff, and none of us are going to do the right thing at the right time. But Gretchen got pretty close to it, and I think everybody else had different circumstances to kind of take into consideration for them to be able to join that. But I think that's what makes it an interesting story. It's not as simple as like a woman gets herself in a situation where she feels uncomfortable and it's her workplace, and that she just does the right thing from beginning to end. This is uncharted territory, and the human quality, that human conflict behind it is, I think, what people are really connecting to in this story. I think empathy really is just wanting to understand. And I think the more we can just understand, the more we can actually know, and that's where change comes. But I don't think any of us set out to go make a sympathetic film, because women don't deserve that and women don't want that. We just want the truth to be, we want to be heard, and we want to have that believed. Exactly. And I don't think what we're craving is sympathy. Just hear us out. And I think that's where we originally set out to come from.
And I think that's the wonderful thing about movies, about whatever the movie might be about, but it's just, the medium is so powerful in that you can spend 2 hours and step into someone else's shoes, and that you do create empathy with them by the end of it, and kind of just see the world from their point of view. This all happened in the summer of 2016. It was before the Me Too movement had really got the ball rolling, and that really adds to what these women were up against, and kind of shows how difficult it can be when there isn't the support there. It just makes it even harder to stand up and come forward. I'm so excited. I actually haven't seen the final version of the film, so I'm equally as excited, I think, as everyone else. I'm very intrigued. I can't wait. It's like a dream to be able to work with this particular group and such a huge ensemble of actors that I already admire and know and have watched for years, and we all kind of got to do this thing together, and it's just, it was incredible. Between Charlize and Nicole and Kate and John and countless others, every day at work was, something truly inspiring. So, just grateful that I got to be a part of it. It's about the women who took down one of the most powerful media moguls in history.
Jay Roach over there is the leader of the whole project, and it's his vision. But also, Charlize, I wanted to work with for probably a decade now, and Margot, obviously we're both Australian, so the idea of being able to be in a film with these women, and then Connie Britton's one of my really good friends, Alison Janey, I just love. Every single woman in this gives a spectacular performance, and then you have John Lithgow. So that combo is kind of fun. For me, it's about the misuse of power and abuse, and the way in which these women were able to stand up and speak out and actually instigate a massive change. And even though, they're very, very complicated issues that we're dealing with, I think it's done in a really entertaining way, but I think it's a very accessible way. I think it's visceral, and it's told from the female point of view.
It's one of those films that is a major conversation piece, and it's so entertaining. I've seen the film maybe 2 drafts ago, or 2 or 3 drafts ago, so I'm going to be surprised by this one. It's not really about Roger Ailes. It's about the women who contended with Roger Ailes, and it's about the whole system that surrounded them all. And, this is a writer who wrote The Big Short, so he's not going to give you a simple thread of this oppressive force and anybody who in any way feels victimized. These women are sort of finding themselves as the film goes along. And we discover them with them, they discover who they are, and we discover who they are with them.